Hello.
Zerk. It's caught the play on, says don't buy. Schluter, nowhere to go. Still farting around instead of a kick that he got that way. Good tackle by Angaston players. And superb football, bloody beautiful football, as we see Perkins and Angaston receive the benefit of the free kick. What superb football that is. Brenton Starrick, body over the ball, Bruce Evans hooks onto that left leg and heads for that outer side Panther stand. James Linky leads in the race to the ball. Quick enough to get around his counterpart, backs up to play well, fast run, touches the ball to ground, well played James Linky as he delivers the ball up looking for a four-line player, and David Hayes.
I mean, it was just like wave after wave after wave.
Yeah.
Simo made the point, he said it was really modern.
Yeah, well, it was before its time, probably.
Probably, yeah. Well, Simo, and I will use this bit where he says pretty much it was Angaston invented the modern game. Yeah.
Oh, it's just, well, that's just confidence. Yeah, it's just, confidence in each other and, knowing you're going to win the ball. And, yeah, I think that, the modern game was based on the Angaston 86 premiership side.
Great call. Great way.
We're on camera. Commiserations. That's that.
I'm glad they bloody changed that song.
They haven't.
Hey?
They haven't.
Yes, they have. They're still singing it. Our official club song's here.
New one.
I think this one gets rolled out occasionally.
So, shoot, I reckon it's the greatest song bloody ever.
Ian McKay was the captain coach.
Right, where was he from?
He played for Centrals for years.
Yep.
Scratch McKay, they used to call him.
Yep.
Or Mackay or McKay.
Yep.
McKay.
He'd sort of played at Centrals and then he came up here and see they'd won 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And we stopped them winning 4 in a row.
Correct way.
86 they were going for 4 in a row. So I hadn't watched it for, honestly. Well, I don't think I watched it. I wouldn't have watched it since the reunion.
So you're not obsessive or anything about your footy?
Oh, I am, but just my wife and kids, they hear about it enough, they reckon. So, and I only played in one.
How many your dad played?
Oh, I'm not quite sure.
One.
I reckon he only won 1 as well. But
What's
he won
that?
5
Premiership.
best and Grandpa played. He's up
Premiership.
here.
I played in 2.
2, did you?
Yeah, 45 and 55.
Oh, 45.
We used to, the footy mob, because there was 6 o'clock closing.
Yeah.
And, well, invariably they came to our place where we lived at the old family home in Valley Road, Angaston, and we would have, I don't know how many people would turn up, but it was pretty often, wasn't it? I know that you...
And then they wouldn't leave?
They wouldn't leave, and we had one fella that never drank. And this particular night he decided to have a drink. Well, you've got no idea what happened. He started eating the flowers in our garden.
We had, first of all, I had Gladys on the table or something, I think, and he started on those.
On those. Then he picked up the ashtray with all the butts, ate those. Neville Thornton was the driver of the car, and they had to go back to Sedan, that's a fair way away. And he said, no way was he going to sit in the front with the wallet he's had, so he put him in the boot. He drove all the way back to Sedan, and Neville got into bed that night, and he was telling his wife all about it, and he said, and we put him in the boot. Hell, he said, he's still in the boot. So he raced out, opened the boot, and there was a groan.
So he just opened the boot and left him there.
And you are now on television, of course.
Is this going to be shown at the club tonight?
This will be shown worldwide, probably.
What are your thoughts of this present time?
It was a very good game that day.
This present time without being too serious.
Is that the 20 guys that played out there today are the best guys that I've ever associated with on a footy field. No bullshit, it was a magnificent team effort. We've been the best team all year. We got some good individuals that play well on the day, but the side has played magnificent team footy, and I think really that won the game for us. Even when things are tight, we flew the ball around everywhere, and the guys, some of the, you know, Galing and Malloy, some of their goals, and Heine played a magnificent game. Bottom of the pack, unbelievable.
Yeah, we had a couple of handy players here.
A lot of good players. Peter Cameron.
Yeah, I think Russell Galing. You know, they all played league footy.
He took a couple of one-handed absolute screamers in this game, which, as you're aware.
Yeah, no, he certainly could play, the boy. Yeah, he's a lot of experience and cool head in the situation, as we saw, you know, during the game here.
Russell Galing had a bit of bad luck getting cooked.
Yeah, I wonder where that. When?
What happened, mate?
With what?
With your health?
It was a condition which they found out eventually was called transverse myelitis. It's actually quite amazing because yesterday was the 16th anniversary and when I walked out of hospital, so or rehab. So yeah, it was a disease which a virus actually which attacked my spine and rendered me a little bit useless there for a while. So yeah, I was paralysed for a couple of weeks and then went to rehab, Caulfield Rehab Centre, and I slowly and surely fought my way back, and after 4 months there I walked out, and that was my goal. So that's, yeah.
Oh, okay. Who's this? Russell Galing, you aware of that?
Well, he had to learn to walk again, apparently.
Yeah.
So, Simo and Grant were telling me. Well, he was one of the guys who came in '86.
Yeah, he came up there. I reckon he only had the 1 year there. But Greg Perkins, I reckon he'd played a bit of league as well. Steve Malloy played a lot of games at North Adelaide.
Camera work was so long ago, isn't it?
Big time. Yeah, and the other thing, it was a real all-rounder side. There weren't any real stars. It was just a good, honest bunch of guys we had a lot of good fun.
It was a team full of very good footballers.
Yeah.
It was probably a champion team, not a team of champions. Yeah. But when you look, it was good flowing football, and there was a lot of good athletes in the side.
Yeah, and you blokes like Stephen Malloy and Camo, and they were nearly right at the top. But Molly was underrated at North Adelaide when I played with him there. He was awesome, good balance.
Yeah, very good player. Probably left league footy a little bit before his time, I believe. Anyway, a very talented player.
He certainly dominated up in the Barossa.
It took a while to get acclimatised to the competition, I think, but by the end of the year, he really started to hit his straps. Yeah.
So yeah, we were pretty blessed.
Was that? What was what sort of story were you sold when you
went up there? Oh yeah, funny. Max Binding came down to. I was playing at Jeps Cross at the time, and he came down to help out, do the training down there 1 year, and he sort of just approached us. I sort of like a good time. Went up there, went up the presentation night, and I thought,
before they were trending.
Yeah, this is all right. So
he turned up to a training night. I reckon that was the first night he was in thongs, in shorts. He had a bit of veranda.
He was fat.
Well, I was being polite.
Yeah.
And he had one of those, those singlets on and all this. Oh, God, what the heck have we got here? But I was talking to Neville before, and I said, I reckon that he's one of our 2 or 3 best centre half backs that I was associated with in all our time. With fellas like Paul de Garnett went very close to being the best. But Simo was a gentle giant. He was really, really good player.
It's now my pleasure to introduce you to one of the characters of the Angaston Football Club for the last 2 or 3 years. Simo, is this the ultimate of what you've been working for?
Oh, it's the pinnacle, mate. The pinnacle, yes.
That's a big word, Greg. Is this the first time you've reached that pinnacle?
No, it's been there, done that before, but it's always good to get there. It's bloody magic feeling, really good feeling.
Can we have you on record and letting us know what you're going to be doing next year?
I just sort of think about it over the summer, see what happens.
Well, congratulations on the superb game, Simo. You got my best player award today for a sterling effort sent back. I thought you did all the hard work on this count in the first quarter or so, and backed it up with some superb rebound football in the last half. Do you enjoy this travelling up and down from Adelaide? It must be a bit of a drag sometimes.
Sort of towards the end of the season it gets to you a bit, but the comradeship and the guys, they really make it worthwhile coming up here.
Simo's the sort of bloke that, he obviously was an outside player and a paid player, but he was the sort of bloke that put back into the club as well. He just didn't get his money and run. So he was a great club man for the years he was there as well.
It's bloody fantastic,
Did you have any trouble with your injury that you sustained a few weeks back? I see you had the head guard.
No, that's been as good as gold.
I had an accident a couple of weeks before the final started in '86, and the car pring broke me, smashed up my eye socket.
He was lucky to play that year in the grand final. He had a car accident about 6 weeks out, I suppose, from the grand final. Had probably 4 weeks off, I think, with his fractured cheekbone, and you can see that he's playing with the Zorro mask on, but probably shouldn't have played, really. But
certainly that one across the back of the head would have stung.
We were probably lucky to have him.
Yeah, I just sort of, precautionary measure.
Well, thank you for your time, Greg, and enjoy the night.
No worries.
If you're looking for a driver.
Straight back to town tonight, mate. Nah.
Fair enough.
Not hanging around.
Otherwise, I hear you're a top crew now.
Oh, yeah, great.
Okay, so no, thank you for your effort, and congratulations on a great game.
Thanks a lot, Milky. Thanks a lot, mate.
Thanks so much.
But the overwhelming first impression of him when you saw him was he had a straight back running style. He'd sort of almost lean back as he was running. And you watch him go and think, God, this bloke's as slow as a wet week. But put him in a game, and he knew where the ball would be. He'd go and get the ball and he'd do something with it. He was never hurried. He looked slow, but that was an appearance rather than a fact. He was incredible. He could
read the game pretty.
He was a bloody good footballer. But again, first impressions. I mean, if you got him up for a training run in first impressions. As they obviously do with camps and so on, you and you, see you later. He'd be one of the first you and you and you. You wouldn't give him a second thought. But put him in a game, geez, he was a good footballer. But in fact, I reckon it was. I think Max was on the committee when he came.
Oh yeah, he was there for a long time.
I reckon it was Max was promoting him, and there was an argument at the committee meeting about this bloke.
Can't remember that.
I can. Well, he doesn't look too good. But that was very early, and you watch him in a couple of trial games, and you watch him in a game, and geez, I'm glad we kept him. So.
There I was, and if they'd had 4 really good years up there, would have probably stayed up there a bit longer. I wanted to have come back to town and play with my brother. We hadn't played any footy together, so.
Elusive. Simo has time to collect his thoughts as the ball goes down to Peter Hine. Peter Hine, every which way. And there's decked after kicking the ball, but a superb mark by Peter Cameron to take the mark of the day at this stage of the game.
Freeling were never going to win because Simo, when the ruckman tried to go through the banner and he basically got knifed by clothesline around his neck.
Really dropped him.
And I've forgotten about it. He showed me only the other night when I grabbed the disc from him. And he said, remember that big ruckman? I said, no. And then I looked at it and I did remember then. It was classic.
Sentimental favourites once again. Make their way up to the oval. Led by Captain Richard Miles. As the sign says, we are contenders, not pretenders.
God, I'd forgotten that.
The banner?
Banner, yeah.
What was it?
We're contenders, not pretenders.
Good banner.
We were better than contenders. We beat the shit out of them.
Do you remember who was in the cheer squad?
Well, yeah, there was Kay Linky, Neville Linky's wife, Judy, well, she's now Judy Holmes. She's married Terry, who's on the committee. And there'd be a few others, and I probably should remember them, but the trouble is, like, I'm going back now.
Pretty proud.
Oh yes, I remember Chris was up there.
I remember the story. I better not tell about that one.
No, well, I ran out onto the oval. I remember when they were presenting the trophies and things. And no, it was great. And then they celebrated up in the show hall, and I celebrated a little too much. First time in my whole life, I think.
Well, never since either. But I almost carried you home.
Did you?
we actually lived on the corner. How long is it?
Into the main gates. Yeah.
Had we built in that place? We were on the corner
Yes,
of the park.
we built in 62.
So it wasn't far too.
Oh no, it was, and also it was downhill.
Yeah, the missus ran this off. I don't know if was it Christmas, I reckon she'd done us a copy, yeah, and I hadn't seen it yet. So.
Is that right?
Yeah, we caught up with Milo over Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, it's me there, and a bit of a biffo in the background.
Yeah, see that? Notice he went in to help you? See that?
That was me having a little push around, and Russell came in. Russell was the one that charged in late when all the work would have been done and protected me.
So that was only Christmas just gone?
Yeah. Had the old, the VHS or beta or whatever they are, and
Club players are having a board meeting, and there the toss is being thrown.
Richard Miles appears to be the winner.
We had, and I'll say it now, we had one of those years that we had guys that had played in town, and like Adelaide, I'm saying, and it was just a year that a lot of them came back, or that they had a few years in either Centrals or playing somewhere else, and then we just got this great side together.
For about 5 years there, we were sort of also ran. Probably the early years it was pretty. We weren't real flash, but we started to build, and by 1986 we had probably half a dozen good younger players, the Kim Opes and the Davey Argent and the Baldy and some of those, Brenton Starrick, a few of those lads, and they were all good young kids coming through, and we had this mix of a few local blokes, Milo, and I would call myself a local at that stage, and probably half a dozen, Lurch, Falkenberg and a few others. And then we had this other influx of 3 or 4 key players for us that really topped us off, I suppose.
There was a couple of dollars probably spent?
A few. It wasn't excessive.
I'm led to believe there's a bit of spending that year to...
Because there was a lot of local talent, and it was the year to really go for it.
Yeah.
And that's when you spend the...
That's right. They
go for it.
Saved up a bit. and well, it worked.
The story was that I reckon Neville and I our job was to try and find a coach. And we worked very hard in trying to, first of all, call for nominations from people in the press and that sort of thing, and I don't think we got that many applications that we were sort of satisfied with.
Got a couple that were worth talking to, but 3 or 4 of them. And
I don't know how many times we went out and saw Pat Tokashu at Plush's Corner. He was in one of Plush's homes there, while he was a winemaker. And he finally agreed on the condition that the committee don't interfere with him and the football and the selectors in the football team. We said, right, fair enough for us. And so I think that he was, as far as I was concerned, I might have done the paperwork, can't remember now, but as far as I'm concerned, I think that Pat was the main one to, get these guys. He had all the contacts, just having, played for North Adelaide and all the rest of the league, so he knew some of these people around. So,
I wasn't. I wasn't the most popular bloke with the coach at North Adelaide at the time. So, and Pat and I had played together. So he, a few quiet talks and a bit of a lure of some wine to play as well, and that sort of clinched the deal. And went to see him one day, and so it wasn't.
Russ had a couple of very good. I was a very good friend of Russell's, and Dak was probably his best mate, who was vice captain of the side, I think, and it was a pretty easy decision for you. I think.
Yeah, and loved the Barossa. So yeah, it was. And for the year, and just to see what we had, and I thought, well, Tocker's pretty honest, sort of, and they were all honest with me and said, yeah, we've got a good chance, and got some good players. So I thought,
yeah, he went. He obviously went to see who he could get. He had to get the okay from a committee, obviously, because these fellas wanted a bit of petrol money and a bit more than petrol money. Some of the buggers, but they turned out to be a pretty good group. They were good footballers, but they were good club blokes as well. They really made themselves part of the club, which was terrific.
Simo, Graham Johnson, Tim Jackson, all of these guys that played with us, they played like a local.
Yeah, they became club
really good friends, and I think they left a fair bit of their weekly wage, if you like, in the club rooms. But and they came back for social events as well, not just stayed there on Saturday. They came back for social events.
And we even had my cousin Peter Kleinig came back.
As he heads wide looking for his player, Richard Miles juggles a timely mark. Passes off and finds Peter Kleinig at 15 metres out from goal, but on a very acute angle in front of the scoreboard.
Peter would have been 40 then, I reckon. Sorry, Pete, if it's not right.
That's not right.
No, he couldn't have been 40.
Nowhere near 40 at Buffett.
Played here, played in the Premiership, won an association medal. That was after he'd been down at Centrals, and then he came back and he coached Tanunda and won a couple of flags with them. And he was a tough unit, Peter.
I just remember he was a bit older than us all, but he was a very grounded footballer that could use his body incredibly well. For his size, he did some of the best off-the-ball shepherds you could ever see. They were absolutely, something I do remember out of that final was some of the big off-the-ball stuff he did, and it really unsettled Freeling, and he and Perky just asserted their authority.
We now take this opportunity to pause for some adverts from our sponsors. P.O. Turner & Son supply meat and a full range of small goods, guaranteed not to be as tough as Peter Kleinig, the player that they sponsor.
Yeah, he had him come back, and Greg Perkins.
Perky was he was a good player for us. Yeah.
Yeah, well, tell me about him.
Perky, yeah, look, Perky.
Because you were playing alongside him.
Yeah, I made him as a back pocket. Probably was what we used to tell each other, and he made me as a full back. That's what we used to tell each other anyway. That year. But no, Perky came up and played with us, and he added that bit of toughness to us, I think.
He could take on the big players.
Yeah.
Heads wide looking for his opponent in Schluter. Schluter handballs over the top looking for Johnny Boff.
Ball bounces well for him, forced to go over again. And Peter Zurich has signed out with a good clean hip and shoulder. Beautiful football.
Yeah, he was a straight ahead sort of player and chanced his arm, which was a good thing to do. And yeah, he was a real valuable asset to us.
He was good mates with Pat Tokashu, who coached us in '85 and obviously was the premiership coach in '86, who unfortunately died last year, and we went to his funeral, so it was very sad.
Coach of the premiership side, have you got a few words you can say to players and supporters at this stage?
Well, thanks, Mick. All I can say is congratulations to the club, the players that played in the A grade today. I think it's an outstanding effort to get to the grand final and then to take it out in the style of football I've been asking them all year. They bought, they played the style in respect of pressure, tackling, skill, back up, run, all of the words that are around me now that came out in players that in a pressure situation, and that is a credit to them all.
Ended up making not a bad drop of red either. Or Tockers.
He what, sorry?
Ended up making not a bad drop of red.
Is that right? You tried it?
Yeah, oh yeah.
He did have a stint at Newry. Played here, then he went to Newry for a year or two, and then he come here in 85, and then he was still coaching in 86. So he was down the southeast. He was in the wine game. He was a bloke who started the chimney paint. You know, at Newry it was because Angus in 86, and he worked there. He got the chimney going, and it's been going ever since. It was all because of him.
Yeah. And we'll just say Vale Pat.
I believe that exhibition and his work and the time that he has been as coach has got this club where it is this year.
And also our president, Jackie Herndon, was he died last year as well. So
I heard about that.
Yeah, it's pretty
great
sad.
man.
Oh, he was. They're both great blokes.
But when I said, of course, there was a little bit of spending that year, you had the locals together, and you had all those juniors come through, like Kimmy Opes.
Yeah, Kimmy Opes, little left footer. He was dynamic. Like he could kick a couple of goals, and he was yeah. I mean, go through the whole side, but
he could leave bruises with a 30-metre pass too.
Yeah, he was a beautiful kick. You just swing around on typical left footer, swing around on the left foot and dob them from anywhere.
But he would have still been a teenager, I think, at this point.
Oh yeah, Kim would have only been, I reckon if 18 or 19, if that. I reckon he would have been 18.
Opesy was a legend. Yeah, as we know.
Still is.
Still is a legend. I imagine he probably is too.
Yeah, you don't seem like we used to.
No.
They all get old. I'm the only one that still goes to the pub.
Is that right?
Yeah, that'd be right.
Yep.
You got that right.
Jimmy Linky, he was a real good local. Oh, there he goes there. He's got picks the ball straight up out the middle.
We either finished first or second.
You got the book there?
Freeling were hot favourites. They were going for 4 in a row.
Yeah.
I reckon we would have been favourite. I think we would have been favourites. We finished minor premiers.
Yep.
And Freeling were the obvious, the formidable opposition, but I was pretty confident going into it that we'd beat them.
We lost to Yadunda at Yadunda, who finished bottom. How we lost to them, but it was a classic Yadunda day. Cold, wet, freezing, typical icy Yadunda day.
Yeah. My recollection of that game, it just poured all day. The ground was slop. Yep.
I was there, I remember. Well, I was doing the write-up.
So. Oh, right.
And then Freeling had beaten us once in the minor round. So they may have finished top, so we played them in the second semi at Yadunda.
That was Dak's game. Our little mate David France, Daka, reckons he was best on ground in the grand final, but he got his games mixed up. And it was actually
He definitely got his games mixed up.
Yeah, it was the second semi. He played all right. Yeah, a little ferret.
And the weather was okay. It wasn't as bad a day, but I reckon it was wet though. It wasn't as cold and windy though. And then they beat, crikey, I don't even remember who they beat, because what we did after the second semi, we made this sort of decision, what will we do? Will we go and watch who we're going to play, or should we go to the races? So David Hayes organised all the tickets, and we all went to Cheltenham races, and we didn't even know who won, because we knew basically who we were going to play. So most of us went to the races. I reckon about 15 would have gone to the races. Yeah, then found out that evening, obviously we were playing Freeling.
Peter Crichton to the superb shepherd to Richard Miles. Richard Miles with a good kick up to Kim Lehman. Scored by Freeling player and the ball over the boundary line for a throw in. Throw in. Michael Falkenberg. Freeling break the pack. Sees Malloy out in the centre position. Nugget Graham. His thigh heavily bandaged. Sends him all around looking for Peter's weight to full forward. And takes a superb mark in opposition ranged and players. Sweek will be a real threat in that forward line for Anguston with his height and agility. Sweek lines up. And Freeling draw first blood with a major. Just by the response of the crowd, Freeling are going to be barracking from themselves, and the other clubs and association will be barracking for Anguston. And Bale little with the bounce down. Graham Caines gets first touch.
I always reckon that Graham Caines was one of our strongest and most dedicated ruckmen in my era.
You want to hop up there for a sec? We'll get rid of that.
Big black spider.
Yeah, big black spider.
I might have half killed him.
Johnny.
I know. Dear oh dear.
Well, maybe pick a different seat.
That's right.
If he bites me, he won't hurt me anyhow.
I don't think Graham Caines played anymore after 86.
Is that right?
So big Graham Caines, who once again was affected by the fire only recently. Graham's probably only about 6'2", and nowadays he does triathlons and he's fit as a fiddle. And by his own admission, he was probably a little bit overweight in '86, but he was tough as.
Well, Caines, he was like a bull. Just, yeah, very roary, just, yeah, get out of my way. That's a coming.
But he wasn't tall. Like, he was our ruckman, but he just basically crashed through the guys. You know, that was...
You were allowed to then?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, yeah.
And that worked?
Oh, yeah, he was probably half the catalyst why we won, because we won a fair bit out of the middle just through him. He'd follow up as well. He'd just ruck and then he'd be like a rover as well, so... He was brilliant.
Like a modern ruckman playing under old rules.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Collier fends in Richard Miles over the shoulder. Richard Miles plays on. Looking for Peter Crichton. Tim Opes, 10 balls out. Doesn't find anybody in particular. Barilla, ever dangerous player. Heads wide. Richard Miles, plenty of touches in the first few minutes of this game. Hooks the ball around. Finds James Linky on that outer side. And another throw on the wrist.
So Freeling had a couple of good forwards. They had Sweck and Zirk, and they were both dangerous, good players. And
who were you playing on?
I was standing Greg Edwards.
Oh,
yeah, he is Fable, well-known Fable. He lost his eye playing for Centrals, and yeah, he was playing there, and yeah, I got the fortune of standing him. And,
you didn't see much of him. You had a good game.
Oh, I think I had a pretty fair game. Yeah, I think we matched up pretty well.
So. The handball comes out in the direction of Marsden. Marsden sends the ball around. Fast leading Zirk, spills it at the critical time. Grant Humphreys, custodian, is swallowed by Graham. And John Boss takes a relieving mark in the back lines for Freeling. Heads across the ground looking for Wharton. Wharton sends the ball down. Good spoils behind. Brenton Starrick, body over the ball. Bruce Evans hooks onto that left leg and heads for that outer side Panther stand. James Linky leads in the race the ball. Quick enough to get around his counterpart. Backs up the play well. Fast run. Touches the ball to ground. Well played, James Linky. As he delivers the ball up, looking for a four-line player, and David Hayes has played the mark in true centre-half forward position for Angaston to give them a chance to put their first.
All right, so here's D Hayes. We'll see if he kicks the goal.
David Hayes, he was a good footballer, a little bit fiery.
Yeah.
And no, there's that bloody spider now.
That's got him.
Yeah.
I think he was a 400 metre runner, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At Saints.
Yeah.
And obviously you play footy there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he was a good footballer. Yeah.
Good football, good country football. He played a couple of league games. Played a lot of seconds down there for 1 year.
Yeah, well, David Hayes, of course, was a great player for us as well. He played early in the year, and I recall, I think his dad, CS, of course, sent him to England to learn the horse training trade a bit more. I'm not sure David really wanted to go at that time of the year because we had a pretty good side, but...
well, you got the old ultimatum from the old man, I think.
He went to England, and luckily for us, he came back.
Yeah, well, no, what basically happened was with my football, Dad, when I was at Central Districts, never got the opportunity to see me play much, and we were playing Port Adelaide at Adelaide Oval, and I was playing a big forward in a losing side, which is never easy, and I had a pretty quiet game, and we got flogged. And Dad watched me, and when we were driving home, I said, "What did you think?" And he said, "What do we tell the owners if they've got a good city horse?" And I said, "Oh, really good, and keep persisting, and you might win a big race." I said, "What do you tell the owners if you've got a provincial horse?" "Oh, you've got to get rid of it, I think." So he said, "I think you're provincial, and you're never going to make a living playing AFL football." So I retired and then came back, and that's what Hump's talking about there. I came back and qualified for the finals 3 or 4 years later, so I was a little bit rusty at the time here.
But, he went to England, and luckily for us, he came back 1 or 2 games, I think it was, before the finals. So he filled the centre-half forward void for us very well. So we're fortunate to have David as well.
Who, well, I guess probably, you know, in a pretty complete side, I guess that did complete it.
It did, yeah, it really topped us off.
Pat Tokashu talked about that at the end of the game, about playing premiership football. Was that something that right through the season you were going for a flag?
Yeah. I think, well, yeah, we certainly knew we had a pretty handy side, and yeah, the score was a limit. You know, if we got clicked on the day, there's no stopping us. Yeah.
Right on David's kick. Beautiful kick up the boot.
Look at that. Hazy, beautiful.
Flag waving to see scores locked together 1 goal apiece. And experience in the centre square as Cairns gets the first tap away, but Rouleau slams the ball on his boot looking for Hope. Nugget Graham, the back of the pack, falls over the critical time. It's collared. Sees Wharton kick the ball forward. Grant Humphreys tries to get the ball, but the ball's over the line for another throw. Handball out to the back line, sees Bruce Evans nearly fumbled, but good enough to recover in time, heads around this outer side. But the ever dangerous and slippery Les Mostyn takes a mark out, delivers out to Zirk. Handball's out to McKay. Big game player is McKay. A high kick forward, landing the goal square. All players up, and the ball falls through for a minor score. McKay seems to lift himself for these big occasions. Superb athlete.
Grant Humphreys kicking in. Good mate of mine. Catch up at the cricket.
Who did he play on that day?
He would have been on Sweck. and I reckon we had Greg Perkins on Zerky, or I'm not sure now.
Sorry, who was on Zwick?
Yeah, I reckon there was Bruce Evans that was on Zwick.
Stephen Malloy puts pressure on McKay. Series of handballs by Freeling. Sees John Boston receive the ball. Tried to smother by Peter Hine. Angston man in front. It's received. Jack France giving the benefit of the doubt for the free kick. Wobbly pass. Peter Clyde playing his probably swan song. Had on the ball by Perkins. So a series of handballs out to David France. David France onto his left leg. And Peter Hine take a falling mark. Plays on immediately to Stephen Malloy up on that outer side. But the ball is poorly delivered and out of bounds on the full. Bradley Wharton. Long kick. And he plies up. Simo reads off the back of the pack out to Graham Caines. Handballs over to Richard Miles. They players combine very well as the ball goes out to Russell Galing and looks around, finds Kim Lehman on a superb lead.
Kim Lehman, there was another one. He had a crook knee as well, Kim. He was a great player, but there again he had knee trouble. Played a lot at Centrals.
I didn't know that.
He definitely played league footy.
And Kim Lehman, of course, was a fantastic. He played that 1 year for us. He had he had a horrible knee injury, and which put him out of football basically. But that particular year, he come back and played his final year, and he was really a week-to-week proposition with the knee that he had. But he was a sort of bloke that the other team always had to cover. They respected him because of what he'd done in league football, and he's the sort of bloke you couldn't leave on his own. And for us, he gave us a lot of confidence because we knew we had someone to shoot at all the time. So, yeah, he was very valuable for us, Kim.
I mean, he could have been anything. He was a brilliant kid as a footballer.
Because he played in 77. That's what Milky says on the commentary.
What?
The 77 premiership?
No. 77. That's what he says on the commentary, and I just...
Got the glasses.
I don't think so. Well, the memory does funny things as you get old. Oh, he did too, yeah. Quite right.
The only player in today's side that played in the last 1977 premiership side. Let's go with the kick, but it's offline. The umpire makes up too much ground and is offline for a minor score. Good kick out by the custodian of Freeling. Sees two blokes fly. And Peter Hine reads a superb pass in by Peter Cameron.
We used to have this joke with Heine because he could only kick about 35 metres. I was best man at his wedding, so he won't mind anything I say, but it was a beautiful kick, like really good kick from 35. Anything over 35, you're not sure whether he's going to get the distance, so I'm pretty sure he slots this one because it's about 32. So he only just made the line.
32.
Yeah, well, might have been 35.
Yeah. Peter Cameron was...
well, he won the best and fairest that year. He was brilliant, like really quality player, clever.
Yeah, it was just Pete showing his class there, wasn't it? He wasn't a natural left footer, I don't think.
No, he wasn't.
And it looked like he was.
And he was involved in one of my favourite memories of my childhood, which was Baldy in this goal square here. He got back on the fence there, like someone was kicking in from that flank over there. And was probably never going to make the distance, so it was coming into the goal square there, so Baldy was standing there and his man was right with him, knowing that this is what Baldy did, as everyone knew what Baldy did. And he was going up there and got on top of the pack, taking it on his chest, you probably remember this. And then out here on this other flank here, Peter Cameron's gone down on his knees.
Yeah, saluted, yeah. Well, Baldy could take some hangers, he was brilliant, he was brilliant. Yeah. And unfortunately, see, he played this year, but he'd got injured and I can't remember what he did. I should remember. I think it was his shoulder, probably coming down from great heights. Like
he used to hurt himself a bit.
Oh yeah.
He could fly high, but he couldn't land properly.
I think he was wearing a helmet then, which he should have been, because he really could take a hanger. He was he could get up there with the best of them. Well, you'd remember that.
Bounce down again again after that goal from Peter Hine. See Malcolm Falkenberg brought onto the ball for the first time.
Archie Falkenberg. Yep.
Plenty of pressure in that centre bounce as the ball kicked forward. Handball out to Mick Schluter. Quick kick away. To Bruce Evans out possession by Zweck again on this occasion, and wait on Zweck's resultant kick.
Right about now, Tokashu would have been having a heart attack. See, he used to pick on Bruce. He used to give him hell. So, poor old Bruce Evans.
Well, a lot of fellas used to pick on Bruce.
Yeah, but I remember one day he sent him out. I reckon Bruce started off on the fence, you know, it was changed by then. And he sent him out, and he's sort of had a couple of words to say in his ear before he went out. He got on half-back, flank or centre half-back or whatever. Well, he's out there for about 2 minutes and runner gets out. Get that bastard off, you know. So Bruce comes back. And he didn't even know he'd done anything wrong, you know. Well, Tokashu ripped another strip off.
Did you see him at half, no, it was quarter time. He walked around and he had his finger like this, and he hit him in the chest here. Boom. He really.
He used to. He'd just pick on him, you know.
He would have had imprints on him. He really hit him.
Oh, Bruce was a good player. Yeah.
A really good, another good balanced footballer that could play forward or back.
Yeah, and it may well be that Tokashu that, well, you know, I got to set an example here. So he'll do. We'll have him, you know. So I mean, it would have been fair on them all if it's you this week, it'll be him next week, me the week after, you know. So spread it around a bit. But I'll never forget that day. I can't even remember where the game was, but Bruce started on the bench and he's wah in his ear. Right, out you go. So he's out there for 2 minutes and. In fact, I'm not even sure he got near the ball in that 2 minutes. He got yanked off, you know. So, Pat had the shits on for some reason.
Bounce down, sees Peter Hine get the quick kick away out of the centre. Hip over the top by Cameron. Kim Oates can read the bounce. Falls out at the quick of the time. Kim Levenin with a quick handball out to the running player, and Cameron dummies once. Quick kick away, but he's under pressure.
He's kicked that checks.
Yeah, there's a little sidestep. He could do all that magic, Camo.
Oh, yeah.
It was brilliant.
Like that after superb play by the runner.
That was pretty good.
Against the play, scrimmagey play, and Freeling will get the result, free kick to Lena. Weak pull up by Lesky is the
Miracle.
Simmons, Sam there, tracking down to Stephen Malloy, forward split, with Blake and Starrick, handball across to Bruce Evans. Side under pressure on Starrick, sends the ball forward. Peter Kleiding cops a high one from Scratcher McKay and take the resultant free kick. Peter Kleiding been in this position many times as the player for Anderson, the coach at Tanunda some years back. Superb player is Peter Kleiding. Demise when he has to hang up his boots is a beautiful kick off the boot. Right, land right in the goal square. Superb mark. Kim Lehman will be paid the superb mark in the back of the pack.
It's a fair grab, isn't it?
Kim Lehman, superb player, plagued by injury with that knee, I'm sure. Still be down Centrals, but Anderson they're blessed with his presence, with his leadership on and off the field. Kim lines up. Kicks through hard and straight, and Anderson go to a handy 2-goal break at the 12-minute mark of this first quarter. We pause for a few adverts. Silverhouse and Mitsubishi, who sponsor the Kids Trip for your new car, motorbike, or steel chainsaw. My host, John Lamore, represents the hotel for that cold beer and delicious can lunch in friendly surroundings, sponsored Graham Caines. Angus Park Fruit Company, specialists in dried fruits and nuts, sponsor Russell Gailing. Try their fruit medley for your next party.
They're your sponsors, Russell.
Was, yeah.
Good sponsors.
Fantastic.
They better be.
They were.
It was owned by, it was half owned by my father, Angus Park Fruits. He was a famous horse trainer, but a lot of people don't know, but he used to own half of that with Paul Mariani.
And in fact, it was quite amazing that when I was crook, I think Prue organised it. I got this huge box of dried fruits because I was constipated badly in the first couple of weeks when I was doing my rehab. So I sent an SOS to Prue or David, and the next couple of days this huge box of dried fruit came through. So, and it did come through, so it helped out tremendously. So thank you. Thank you to Angus Park.
Back to the football as see the ball relayed back. Crowd very much vocally for Angiston. Cuts it down, Peter Hines. Throw. Scrimmage occurs. Steve Malloy, dummies this way, that way, slips at the vital time, hits the ball out to Grant Humphreys. Grant Humphreys playing in his first grand final, heads the ball out to Starrick, well shepherded by Tim Oates. Strong body work. Lifting the elbows by certain players. And is subsequently brought back by the umpire for raising the elbow. Red hot on this elbow business today, and I'm sure Freeling will earn the wrath of all supporters if they get shown any dirty sort of style of football. Called play on by umpire Little. Out long, the handball. Heads crossed, looking for Wharton. Malloy. It's pulled over the shoulder. It's Malloy, and get the free kick. Poor kick, and Richard Miles relieves at the end of the cricket pitch. Richard Miles plays on it quickly. Tim Oates hits the ball over the top, over the back again. Scratching McCabe, but frightened to put his body over the ball now. He's been pinged once as the ball in the true centre-half forward position for another bounce down. Falkenberg makes up yardage to compete the ball. Down to Peter Kleining. Russell Gailey, Stephen Malloy gets a quick kick away. Races on, speeds to David Hayes. Has to go back for the haul. Clever balks. Ball smothered off the boot. Peter Hine receives it. Hooks the ball around, but where does he kick it through? Only the Freeling player in the true centre-half back position for that side. MacArthur sends the ball down, and Les Boston takes a superb mark. Handballs over to the running player Graham, onto Bradley Wharton. And Bradley Wharton doesn't make any mistake for Freeling to put another major on the goal, on the scoreboard for that side. James Linky would be known as playing football by tonight. Chasing Bradley Wharton, there's from the centre bounce, Steve Malloy with a superb screw pump. Sends the ball down to Kim Lehman and takes a fine mark in the goal square. Kim Lehman probably caught out of position then, but the ball probably would have sailed through for a major had he been able to shepherd. But discretion the better part of valour as Kim Lehman lines up for his second goal. Beautiful play from that centre square area then to get the ball down there quickly. Let the side down as he seeks his second goal. And Angiston replied, that goal by Bradley Wharton to lead 5 goals 1 to 3 goals 1. And he plays on the ball as once again Bradley Wharton breaks James Linky's cover. Richard Miles hooks the ball around on his left, looking for Hayes in that centre half forward position. Peter Kleinig reads the loose ball, gets tripped, and they're seen. And Angiston get the benefit of another free kick. Poor pass by Peter Kleinig, looking for Peter Cameron. Peter Cameron. Handball's out to Stephen Malloy. Kicks around, has to go bounce. Force Cagey in, and it's collared. Freeling forced to play on. As Collier receives the ball. Zerk with a superb kick of the ball. And a costly mistake by Perkins sees Freeling register another goal. That was somewhat
disciplined play by Anguston to let that ball get down there with such as consummate ease. Umpire Little has saw fit to send off Collier, and Chris Meany gets his first run in the grand final. The umpire's not standing for any nonsense with these Freeling players after being possibly upset with the decision at the end of the week for a player being reported and subsequently suspended.
The player got suspended and then reinstated or something. I vaguely remember something about that now, but obviously the Freeling weren't the umpire's friends because of that particular issue. So I can't recall exactly what it was or who it was, but something happened.
Makes a mockery of their efforts during the year to stem dirty play, and
we're coming up to one of the best hip and shoulders that's ever been delivered in the history of football.
Once again, another head-high tackle but let go by the umpire. Richard Miles, desperate on the ball. Sees Peter Hine fight against three players, puts pressure on. He's forced to swing around to his boot. Marsden, a good pass, finds Zerk. Zerk tries to get on the screw punter. Wobbles down Perkins, reads the pack well, delivers that, runs out, looking for Russell Galing, and Russell Galing takes a fine mark in front of his opponent in Asher. Russell Galing, although he's been playing football standing Asher, because Asher's a very mean customer. The ball goes forward. Simon takes a sound mark in defence. Heads wide, looking for his opponent in Schluter. Schluter handballs over the top, looking for Johnny Boff. Ball bounces well for him. Forced to go over again. And Peter Zerk is signed out with a good clean hip and shoulder. Beautiful footballers. He's down for the count. Handball by Peter Kleining over to David Hayes. David Hayes across to Keynes. Keynes has to jump high for it. Gets a wobbly kick out, but finds Richard Miles across that wing position.
But Zerke, who got cleaned up, I don't think he came back on. If he did, he wasn't any threat.
Loose ball at the back of the pack. Strong body work by Wharton, and Perkins sees the ball come out to lean it. Edwards under the hammer, handballs across to Zerk. Zerk give me a goal, and hits the post. Hits the post, and I think that is a just result on what should be a day that he shouldn't even pulled on the Freeling Guernsey. Just reward, just reward. I don't care if he doesn't get another 2 games, that was just reward.
Obviously got rubbed out for some reason and then got reinstated.
But as Milky said, fully deserved that awful missed opportunity.
Well, I recall earlier in the video too that he had a shot from probably about 30 metres out and kicked it out in the full, so he must have some bit of baggage hanging over his head, I think, because he was usually a pretty accurate kick.
Quite possibly he did too, actually. In fact, I think when he kicked it out in the full, there was obviously a lot of people on the boundary telling him about it, I think.
And Tim Lehman has taken the mark. Once again, another elbow has been penalised. The ball has to go back for a kick at centre. Zerk was there to be hit. As Peter Kleining sends the ball in high, looking for high leaving Falkenberg. Ball off the back of the pack. Johnny Boff in front, reads the ball well. Bruce Evans takes a sound mark in that pack of players. Bruce Evans, high kick, Russell Galing, top of the pack. Les Mostyn can complete the mark. McKay caught under the pack and another bounce down result. Strength galore in amongst this pack in front of their commentary position. As once again we see umpire Lesky have another bounce down. Bounce down. Keynes concedes a free kick against
Zwick, he's having a run of the ball over, across to Barilla. Barilla's kick finds Greg Simmons. Rocket Gibraltar in that back line.
There's Simo. You can tell by the kick.
One step and kick. There he is again, see?
You watch his kicking style. It's the most slack-looking kick you've ever seen in your life, but he'd get it where he wanted it to go. He just never looked like a footballer. But by God, he could play.
Down ground. Freeling are very rattled, using foul tactics. And Angston playing the benefit of being in position.
Jocko Nowick, please, at bar 1.
Beautiful kick by Peter Cameron, looking for Kim Lehman, the forward line. Sees Michael Falkenberg unable to complete the mark. Zwick dribbles the ball in front. Peter Kleining, first to recover. McKay has to go back for it. Peter Zwick. Once again, Freeling hotheads go woundies and Scratchy McKay handballs over. Bit of indiscretion by Angston to leave him untended by them, as Bradley Wharton takes the fine mark in front of Jones. Linky. Wharton with a low trajectory kick finds Perkins in the back line, heads across goals, looking for Bruce Evans. Bruce Evans has the luxury of one bounce. Now Lexter kick, looking for his player. Tim Asher overruns the ball. Stark runs at the ball. Quick handball is over by Russell Garland over to Oaksey, a natural left legger, swings around. And heads for
He wasn't going to give that to anyone.
Scoreboard reading, Angston 6-1 to 4 goals 1. A superb, entertaining game. From the centre bounce, Richard Miles paddled the ball over that outer side. And another bounce down. The ball should be the object as Richard Miles gets a quick kick out of the pack. Bounce, but finds Graham Caines, gets a quick handball out to Russell Galing, using plenty of body. Caines back in over the end with a handball out to Peter Cameron. Peter Cameron centres the ball, looking for Peter Kleinig. Peter Kleinig outnumbered, but Russell Galing gets a left kick around, looking for Kim Oates, who's hurled. And the ball runs on the wrong side of the point post for another minor score. Beautiful kick by Heinrich. Sees Malloy. And but outmarked by MacArthur. MacArthur with a kick forward, looking for a hope further afield. Simo. Short pass off to Steve Malloy in the true wing position. Malloy hurries play on, looking for Kim Lehman. The Sunday's eyes, with Peter Cameron's there in front of the pack. Heinrich. You know which way to go, but too fast for Cainesy. As he heads off, but Marston spills what should have been an easy mark. Good enough to recover. Handballs back to Boss. David Hayes competing against two, but makes a bit of time to settle down. Simo having a good game in that back line. As Bruce Evans coming out of that back line. Grant Humphreys covers up from that back line, looking for Stephen Cameron. Stephen Malloy. Which way? Head-eye tackle. Handballs out to Brenton Starrick. Loose ball. James Leckey has the luxury of a bounce. Looks to field. Looks for somebody to pass to, but covered by Freeling.
Got him.
Tackled by a fierce Russell Galing. That was a mean tackle by Russell Galing. Desperate stuff. Russell Galing. Beautiful kick off the boot. Cheer squad respond. And another goal, says umpire kicks. No, he runs across this side. And only a minor score. The reaction up there, I thought, was a major score. Heinrich from the kick-off. Short pass, looking out for Scratchy McKay. Takes it just inside the boundary line. McKay on that outer side. Good mark, I thought, but it's called a play on. Peter Hine across to David Hayes. Collared for the last minute. Hope showing plenty of speed, force the ball out on that other side and keep the ball in that forward right area for Eggleston. High throw in, John Buff at the back of the pack. Leonard throws the ball back. The tackle by Keynes. Peter Hine across to out to Cameron. Malloy swings around, and a superb goal around his body. See Stephen Malloy burning in this first quarter as Angaston go to a 3-goal, 1 lead. Minutes into this first quarter, what's been a hard, grueling and sometimes spiteful sort of a game as former Central District player in Edwards gets the ball over to his player. Grant Humphreys spills what was an awkward mark and the ball is rushed over the line in front of the scoreboard. Handball from the finds Peter Kleining under the hammer. Edwards dodges Richard Miles' tackle with a sloppy kick forward, looking for his forward. Peter's weak. Bruce Evans is there. Swoops back on the ball. Time to recover. He moves, but it receives a bad bounce. Brenton Starrick butters up. Beautiful, superb bouncing. And what was a ticklish situation, Kim Oates gives a free kick away for holding the ball to Les Mostyn. But Simo, the Rock of Gibraltar, handballs off to Perkins, bit sloppy there, but Perkins. As the siren sounds to end last quarter, sees the scoreboard. Angaston 7 goals 2 to Freeling 4 goals 1. Goal scorers that quarter were Kim Lehman with 2 and singles to Hayes, Hine, Cameron, Obst and Malloy.
It's just unreal.
Well, thank you, Richard.
Thanks, Mel.
Enjoy your night.
Up the Panthers.